Before Mass, I was thinking about asking Father John if he wanted to give the homily today. Because, of course, this is just such a popular topic area for priests to preach on. As you know, I never get hate mail, ever. Like last week when I had been talking about the gospel where Jesus says, "Better than a man should have a millstone tied around his neck than to get in the way of one of my little ones being close to me." I got to know, and I had talked to you a couple weeks ago about, our friends over at places like Kensington Church, and how they were different than us, and how the documents of the Second Vatican Council illustrated that they were perfectly good people, and they're part of the universal Church of Christ, but that the truthness of the Church does not fully subsist with them as it does with the Church personally founded by Jesus Christ whilst on earth, the Roman Catholic Church, with its 7 sacraments, each of which he established. That, in response, got me a card which was made out to the nasty little Napoleon priest. Now, the rest of it was okay, but little Napoleon? Wow. And I mention this because we live in a world where we hear what we want to hear. In fact, that's the basis of our public forum right now. And we're heading into a major election. Did you know that? Did you know we were heading in? On my telephone every day, I don't know about you guys, but I get at least 40 texts. Now, I don't even know how these people got my cell phone number. I'm pretty, private about my personal cell phone number, and I'm getting like 40 texts from either Trumpy or Kamala baby, both every single day, okay? They're sending me texts. We live in a world where perception becomes reality and fact. So let's talk about today's gospel in that context. I hope everyone knows that when Jesus made the comments he made about marriage, he was defending women. You have to understand, in Jesus' time, women were considered literally property. They were chattel. And what would happen from the time of Moses all the way to the time of Christ is when your wife, who was 15 when you married her, became an old lady at the age of 23, I'm serious, you would dump her, and she would be entitled to no money, none. And what would happen is she'd be escorted out of the village. Bye-bye. No money, no food. What do you think happened to her? Bye-bye. That's what happened. And so Jesus said, this is wrong. This is wrong. And this was a society that was entirely male-dominated. Now, when I say that, you have to understand, you could literally have your wife put to death. I mean, this was crazy. So Jesus defends women's rights. And he stands up and he says, whoa, 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 whoa. God founded marriage. It is divine in its foundation. And as I say that, I'm looking at a rock star couple right there who have a fantastic little baby girl. They didn't take her to Mass to see me today. Their excuse was, well, Grandma's watching her, whatever. And a newlywed couple right over here that I just married a little while ago, not more than a couple months, right there. And then there's the McInerney's behind them who just celebrated their 50th. We look at these people in our parish and we see God's manifestation of what marriage is supposed to be. Marriage is supposed to be this indissoluble union between one man and one woman, forsaking all others for the remainder of our natural lives. It is the fiber of society. Now, Megan over here is wondering why I walked over here. And she's wondering that because in just a couple weeks, I'm going to marry her too, and her strapping young warrior, who's in a combat zone right now, who's going to be flying back to marry her. Isn't that cool? So this is what life is about. That indissoluble union is the very foundation of our existence. If you take marriage out of the club, if you start changing its definition, then suddenly we stand for absolutely nothing. And our connection with God, because remember, this is divinely founded, starts to diminish. We start to stretch that friendship. So more than anything, today's gospel is in fact about marriage, not divorce. And the thing I would encourage all of our married couples to do today is take a look at your marriage. What is it that drew you to your bride? What is it that drew you to your groom? And I don't care if you've been married for 60 years. There should still be a little yo baby, yo there. The romance of it still has to dominate. You have to remember, what was it that made me chase this gal? And what is it that let him chase me? Because we know she had it figured out before you did. So it's important that we stress today the glory of marriage. That's what the gospel's about today. You know what we do wrong in America? I'm going to tell you what we do wrong in America. What we do wrong in America is we take this relationship up here, hubby and wifey, and then mom and dad, and we flip them by way of rank. Husband and wife is the highest rank. Mom and dad is the second highest rank. Very high, but subordinate. The minute we flip them, the minute we don't make our husband or our wife our top priority is the minute the Titanic hits the iceberg. Now, she may not sink for a few hours, but she'll start to sink. You can't lose the romance. I don't care how many years you've been married. And those of you who are widows or widowers, you know what it feels like. You know, you look back, you can see, you remember the first kiss, and you remember letting go at that last minute. You know. Marriage is the top, the pinnacle of human relation. A man shall leave his father and his mother and cling to his wife. It was beautifully read this morning by a fantastic wife and mom, by the way, who understands that concept. And the verbiage that is used is cling. It's not hold on, it's cling. Because life can be used to ups and downs, just like the Superman ride at Cedar Point. And you got to hang on to each other in the good times and in the bad. Now, let's get the ugly part over with just for a second, shall we? On the issue of divorce, the reason why Mother Church never relents on this is it's one of the areas where we look at the words of Jesus Christ. Not the words of a pope, not the words of an archbishop, not the words of Father John. We look to what Christ said. And Christ says, don't get divorced. Now, listen carefully, please. You happen to have a canon lawyer as your pastor. It just so happens I've helped a lot of you out since the time I got here on being able to get marriages that never really were marriages nullified. Come and see me if you fall into that category. Let me help you. Don't sit there doing nothing. For those of you who got married outside the church, talk to any one of your neighbors who I have convalidated their marriage in 20 minutes, and they leave this church smiling because they're no longer not living in a state of non-grace. They're unified with the church once again. And they love it. They love it. Last weekend at the ministry fair, I had a young man and a young woman who are married, and since I convalidated their wedding, they got new rings. And in front of everyone that was at the ministry fair, we blessed their rings. It was a blast. So never think that anything that's happened in your life can't be reversed. Okay, last 3 minutes of the homily. Stop looking so happy. All right, here we go. The last part of the gospel is the most important part of this gospel. This is repeated again and again and again and again and again, and I repeated it last Wednesday for the upper school mass over at St. Mary's. Let the little children come unto me, and do nothing to impede them. And it connects with last week's gospel. Better that a man should wrap a cord around his neck connected to a millstone and throw himself off of a cliff than to keep my little ones away from me. This is very important. So, on Wednesday, I took a little straw poll over at St. Mary's. Now you might say, Father John, why don't you let sleeping dogs lie? You have known me for 3 years. I am starting my 4th year. Am I one to let sleeping dogs lie? No. So I'm over at Mass, and I noticed during communion that about half the kids didn't know what quite to do when they approached me for Eucharist. First of all, they didn't look excited at all. It wasn't as if they were receiving God. And then the second thing was, some of them didn't even know what to do. So I decided to take a straw poll. And I took a straw poll and asked, hey, and I did it in a positive way because you never want to embarrass a munchkin. And I said, hey, how many of you went to Mass with Mom and Dad this past weekend? Now, by the way, please note, this is at a Catholic school. 40% at least did not. Did not. Let the little children come to me, and do nothing to impede them. Do nothing to impede them. And so I made the following statement. A parent that consistently guides their children not to attend Mass cannot be defined as a good parent. Let the little children come to me, and do nothing to impede them. If we don't bring our children to Mass, they will not know Jesus Christ. And that may get me less Christmas envelopes, and that's fine. But I love you all. But as I've said before, I won't go to hell for you. My job is to remind parents that their duty is to take their children to Mass. They must, for they will be separated from God if they do not. This is serious. And we are in a society now, just like those 40 messages I get on my cell phone from both sides, where we define our truth. Oh, sports are important for my child. It's really important that he know gymnastics or hockey or basketball, or she's really good. She's going to be the first gal in our school to belong to this, Father John. Rubbish. Nothing is more important than your child, your grandchild, being close to Jesus Christ. Because you're not going to be here forever, but Jesus Christ will. And we can't surrender on this. We cannot define our faith as what we would like it to be. That is the stuff of feel-good places where you can bring your chai tea latte in with you. There are truths that must be accepted. And one of them is our children need Jesus Christ. And if they don't go to Mass, they will not find him. Thank you for your patience. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.